When it comes to making movies based on quote-unquote real events, Hollywood has never been afraid to play fast and loose with the facts.
Everybody okay?
Yes, Sharon, everybody's fine.
But there are some movies that take pride in their historical accuracy and make sure to get things down to the very last detail, some of which may surprise you. In this video, we'll look at 10 iconic movie moments and movies in general that were shockingly accurate. When you think of the most realistic movies out there, one that probably does not come to mind is Martin Scorsese's Wolf of Wall Street, given just how crazy and outlandish some of the moments in the movie are. But the movie is actually shockingly accurate, and in fact, a study by database site Information is Beautiful stated that 74.6% of events in the movie are true to life. This is in part down to the fact that many of the scenes were taken directly from the memoir of Jordan Belfort, and although Belfort isn't exactly the most reliable of narrators, most of what he says can be verified by FBI and court records. In fact, one FBI agent who had been tracking Belfort for 10 years stated that everything he wrote is true. Now, while we will never know just how accurate his crazy office parties and Quaalude escapades actually were, some of the wildest moments, such as his crashing his Lamborghini while wasted, being rescued by the Italian Navy, and even Matthew McConaughey's advice minus the chest pump, all happened.
Name of the game, move the money from your client's pocket into your pocket.
But arguably, the most shockingly accurate scene is the movie's opening, where Belfort crashes his helicopter while under the influence onto his own property while, you guessed it, completely smashed. Speaking of DiCaprio, another one of his movies that is, for the most part, accurate is the chase movie, Catch Me If You Can, in which the actor starred as grifter Frank Abagnale Jr. opposite Tom Hanks's Carl Hanratty. The real Frank Abagnale Jr., who wrote the book that the movie is based on, has said that between 80 to 90% of everything you see in the movie actually happened, meaning that some of the greatest tricks and cons Abagnale pulls in the movie, such as being a resident at a hospital, practicing law after he actually passed the bar, and most notably, pretending to be a pilot so he could fly for free, were all real. Carl Hanratty, however, was an invention of the movie, with him being an amalgamation of a number of different FBI agents, with the main inspiration being FBI agent Joseph Shea. Another movie that feels too crazy to be real, mainly down to the style that it was done in, is Adam McKay's The Big Short. In fact, Information is Beautiful, that website, rated it 91.4% accurate, which was a higher rating than a number of movies based on true events, such as Captain Phillips, which received a score of 81.4%, The Social Network, which had a score of 76.1%, and American Sniper, which had an actually quite low score of 56.9%. In terms of historical trajectory, The Big Short gets all of the events correct, but there were a number of people who ignored the warning signs that led to the recession. Christian Bale's Michael Burry really did go around the office wearing no shoes and listening to thrash metal. Ryan Gosling's Jared Venett may not have been real, but the man he was based after, Greg Lipman, really did look like that, with Gordon Gekko-style slicked back hair and long sideburns. In fact, when the movie did actually deviate from the truth, they would provide a fourth wall break and let you know, giving you mostly the actual facts.
I never hung out with these idiots after work, ever. I had fashion friends.
Sadly though, it is unlikely that Margot Robbie ever sat in a bathtub, drank champagne, and explained the subprime mortgage securities market other than in the movie. I mean, it's not outside of the realm of possibility, but pretty unlikely. Saving Private Ryan is known for its no-holds-barred look at the violence and horrors of World War II, and the best example of this is the D-Day landing scene that happens early on in the movie. Spielberg went to great lengths to make sure that the scene was as realistic as possible, and the result definitely paid off. Many veterans of D-Day have said that it's 100% accurate, without any Hollywood embellishment, and some have said that it's even too realistic to bear. The way the landings happened and how it makes you experience what it was like to be a soldier on that beach are all very true to life. For the most part, Spielberg's historical movies are pretty accurate. Many survivors of the Holocaust and those who encountered Oskar Schindler have said that Schindler's List, for the most part, is very accurate and did a good job of replicating the character of Schindler and the horrible conditions that victims of the Holocaust faced. Spielberg's spy thriller, Bridge of Spies, was also deemed pretty accurate with a score of 89.9% from Information is Beautiful. Another director who went to great lengths to bring the feeling and horrors of World War II to life is director Christopher Nolan in his movie Dunkirk, with him using real vehicles such as Spitfires, Messerschmitts, and even a 350-foot-long French destroyer. For the most part, there are not any real inaccuracies, and all of the historical events and props are true, including the pamphlets the Germans sent to the British troops. Of course, for the sake of the movie, a majority of the scenes were dramatized, but were real issues that the soldiers in Dunkirk faced. Take, for example, the obsession with airplane fuel in the movie and how Tom Hardy's character grapples with it. The RAF struggled with range from its airplanes, meaning that the soldiers in Dunkirk would often be without protection from the air, with the RAF fighters instead aiming their attention on German planes attacking Royal Navy vessels or cargo ships. Other World War II movies renowned for their accuracy are Das Boot, Downfall, Stalingrad, and despite there being chaos behind the scenes, Tora, 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 which depicted the events of Pearl Harbor a lot better than the Ben Affleck movie ever did. If there was one thing David Fincher is known for, it's being a perfectionist. So you can be guaranteed that when working on the movie Zodiac, he made sure that he knew every small detail when it came to the real-life case and hunt for the Zodiac killer. Fincher spent months at a time researching the case, conducting interviews with people such as witnesses, detectives, and suspects, reading case reports, and became basically obsessed with the case. This is somewhat ironic as it mirrors Jake Gyllenhaal's character, Robert Graysmith, who also became obsessed with the case and wrote a book on the subject. Unsurprisingly, Graysmith and Robert Downey Jr.'s Paul Avery scenes are all very close to reality, even some of the more surprising stuff, such as Graysmith trying to match the killings to lunar cycles. In fact, one of the things that makes this movie so realistic is that they didn't try to paint Graysmith out as a hero.
You're doing that thing, the thing we discussed, the thing that I don't like, starts with an L.
Looming.
And weren't afraid to show all aspects of the character, wants and all. All in all, the movie is heralded as one of the most historically accurate movies of all time. Another movie that is praised for its historical accuracy along with All the President's Men is the Academy Award-winning Spotlight. Despite taking some liberties and broad brushing in places, Spotlight warranted an accuracy of 81.6%, and the course of the investigation, as well as Michael Keaton's Walter Robinson's dynamics with his reporters, are all true. Shockingly, the actual eureka moment when the team realizes that they should look significantly higher into the scandals taking place inside the Catholic Church was actually true to life. Journalist Allison Bass, who was one of the first people to report on the scandal taking place in Massachusetts at the Boston Globe, said that the movie overall got a lot of things right, although of course there were a few things the movie over-dramatized or left out. One of the hardest scenes to watch in a movie has to be the moment in Danny Boyle's 127 Hours when James Franco's Aaron Ralston has to hack off his own arm after being trapped in a canyon wall. What makes it harder is that the scene is actually pretty accurate. Ralston himself, who wrote a book on his experiences, has said that the movie is so factually accurate, it is as close to a documentary as you can get and still be a drama. The movie as a whole does a great job in depicting Ralston's psychological struggle and the desperation he felt at being trapped, but of course, the main scene that sticks in people's minds is the infamous arm-cutting scene, with Ralston having to resort to his own pocket knife to escape. Also, Ralston was, as the movie title suggests, trapped for 127 hours. I know, shocking, right? Probably one of the most iconic lines of all time has to be,
"Houston, we have a problem,"
in Apollo 13, but that's almost exactly how it went in real life. Captain Jim Lovell, who wrote the book that the movie is based on, said that the movie is all pretty accurate, and that even the Houston line itself is pretty spot on. In fact, the movie is an immensely accurate version of the events, and director Ron Howard worked scrupulously to make sure that every tiny technical detail and character trait was correct. Even the dramatic Apollo re-entry scene at the end is pretty accurate. The only real thing that Lovell called the movie out on was the interaction between himself, Jack Swigert, and Fred Hayes, and stated that the dialogue and tension between them was turned up to provide added drama. In terms of accuracy of space scenes, Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey is also praised for being pretty accurate, although Michael Bay's Armageddon, not so much. While we've mentioned some movies here with some pretty high accuracy scores, one of the highest rated movies is the Martin Luther King biopic, Selma. Selma, which received a massive 100% accuracy rating and a grade A history rating from The Guardian. One scene that is well known for its accuracy is the Bloody Sunday scene, which is said to be very true to life. While some critics have claimed that the movie is incorrect and that it paints President Lyndon B. Johnson in a negative light, the movie is very accurate to the writings of Martin Luther King himself, with a lot of the scenes in the movie pulled directly from King's own words. As a whole, the movie is seen as extremely well-researched and historically accurate, with the recreation of Bloody Sunday still sticking in people's minds. Another movie that garnered another high accuracy score of 88.1% and is known for sticking to the original text is Steve McQueen's 12 Years a Slave. While we've been focusing on movies that are pretty much accurate, one movie that isn't is The Imitation Game, based on the mathematician Alan Turing, who cracked the Enigma code during World War II, with the movie rated as only 41.4% accurate.